Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Variety Sports Network. This is the next left turn. Aaron, I'm digging that backdrop you got tonight. You know, I like the blue deuce. I like the black and gold deuce too.
I mean, we were talking about it last week. Dodge is coming back.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping, man. I'm really hoping they do, especially if Nissan or Honda's putting a car in. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. That's down the road. Phoenix out in the desert today. Christopher Bell going for 3 in a row, and good Lord, man, I thought for sure there was no way he was going to pull this one off, man. Before the race, at least. I really didn't. I really thought it was going to be a Hendrick or a Penske day. Are you surprised? Did you see? I mean, neither one of us picked him.
No, and he had like the second or third best odds too. And I was like, nah, no, it's not gonna happen again. Because again, they put up that stat. Kevin Harvick's the last one to do it because he started off in the 30s in the first race and then won, and then the last one was Bill Elliott. Same thing. So I was like, no way, this is gonna happen. Like Christopher Bell's a good driver. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, nah, this is definitely gonna be a Team Penske day, which is why I picked Joey Logano because I was like,
I took Blaney.
Yeah, we knew exactly what we were doing because I think what was it, 7 out of 8 races from Blaney's is at least top 4. So I was like, all right, so it's gonna be a Penske day. Yep. And then when I saw William Byron won the pole, I was like, all right, Hendrick and Penske, this is what we're gonna see this whole race, and it was something. Did not expect that Christopher Bell to come in. That's for sure.
And then JGR has the day they have today. I mean, it was actually absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, usually we don't talk about who wins the race at the beginning, but this was different. This was special. This puts Christopher Bell in the record books on a very short list of drivers to win 3 races in a row. Post-race inspection did come back. His car was clean. We'll see if NASCAR looks at anything else. I do believe that I said at the beginning of the season, Christopher Bell was the driver to watch. He could be our next superstar. I'm not saying I can predict the future, but I never saw this coming. This is not what I was talking about. But this is, 3 races in a row. He is very securely in the playoffs. He's already building himself a nice cushion for the playoffs with points. At this point, he's the man to beat. Without a doubt, right?
I mean, it's almost looking like 2021 Kyle Larson status.
I mean,
except without the reinstatement
already, almost.
Yeah, because Kyle Larson did the same thing after his reinstatement from NASCAR. He was just winning, or leading a ton of laps, or just getting the job done. So, I mean, Christopher Bell didn't lead too much laps. That was pretty much William Byron, who, interesting stat, the first 4 races, he's led a majority of the laps.
Yeah, that was Joey Logano going into today.
Mm-hmm.
But now with today's performance, it's now Byron.
Yeah, so it was quite interesting, but I didn't expect the Toyotas to do this well.
Yeah, so what a day. Let's get into it. Let's start with stage 1. Aaron, stage 1, Hendrix, Penske up front. Byron, Logano side by side. They go side by side into turn 1, and it takes Byron about a full lap to finally clear Logano and take the lead down on the inside. You know, we had it was a quick start, quick stop. Catherine Legge. Is that how you say it? That's how you say her last name, right?
I'm gonna assume. I'm gonna apologize if it's wrong, but it seems about right.
So I've seen her in the IRL series, IndyCar. So I'm familiar with who she is. She drives a pretty good car at Indianapolis. She qualified a couple times. I thought she'd be fine in a stock car. Didn't anticipate to see her spin out in the first, 10 laps of the race. I think she was lap 5. She spins out. She gets a caution. Did you have any expectations for her? Do you know much about her? I mean, going into the race? Because I didn't even realize she was going to be in this race until qualifying.
So I found out earlier, I believe it was either early Friday or late Friday night. I was like, oh, okay. I thought she was going Xfinity. And when I recorded, I was watching the Xfinity and then I recorded it later and I didn't see her. And I'm like, well, that's a little weird. So then I didn't realize that she was in the Cup Series. And I was like, oh, they're just throwing her right into the fire. So I
That's
didn't think she
exactly what
ran
she
too
said.
bad. Yeah, I didn't think she ran too bad, but she did say that was when she was making the turns, it was a little bit tight.
Well,
Hence why
she
she's
said
fun.
originally the car was so loose she couldn't control it.
Yeah.
And that's what caused her first spin out, which brought the caution at lap 5. And she said it was by the end of the race they got the car tightened out. I
Yeah.
guess. And
Oh,
that's
I
what
thought
caused
she
the
was
loss
saying that it
she
was tight taking the turn.
No, I did watch that interview because I wanted to see what
Mm.
I didn't get to catch her interview when she came out of the race, so I went and looked that one up because I wanted to see what she thought she did. I thought she was fine for the majority. She wasn't slowing the race down. She wasn't impeding competition.
Tell it to Daniel Suarez.
I mean,
I'll put
yeah.
it in a nice quote. He said, "Freaking lappers." But
I don't know, man.
do you like that NASCAR is doing that since it's the first female driver in like 7 years? Even though you know her from Indianapolis, like the IHL. So do you think that's good for NASCAR promoting it like this?
I mean, I legitimately think this is one of the few sports out there where oh man, you're gonna get me in trouble here because no matter what I say, somebody's gonna get mad. Okay, so let's start off by saying I have 2 daughters. All right. This is the one sport where if they went into it, I wouldn't really be worried about them getting absolutely destroyed by somebody of the opposite gender. Let's put it that way. I think racing legitimately is for everybody. I think it's an even playing field. It's the car and it's the skill of the driver, and so I think what NASCAR is trying to do is perfectly fine. I think the best thing you can do is to bring in other professional female drivers. There are plenty of great female racers out there. It's just they're in the European leagues or they're in IMSA or IRL or Northern Lights. You don't see a lot of ladies in NASCAR. I mean, you see them all over drag. I mean, John Force's daughters all drive too in drag. So in drag racing. So no, I think it's perfectly fine. You got to find women who are up for the challenge. I think it's if you're going to try to do it like this, the best thing you can do is go find those professional female racers from other top tier racing leagues and bring them over. I think it's the best thing you can do. I don't know if Phoenix is the best place to put them on their first race.
Yeah, that was not good.
Maybe Michigan, Indy,
Martinsville.
yeah, somewhere where they've raced in their other cars that they were in. Like I think, like I said, Michigan, Indy would have been better for Catherine. They do Miami, WTT. So I mean that's kind of my take on it. I don't have a problem with it at all. I mean I'm all for it. I didn't have a problem with Danica Patrick. She was perfectly fine. She held her own for plenty of years. Did she ever get a win?
No.
She came second a couple times, right? I mean she was close a couple times.
I think her average was like 20th.
Yeah, I mean she wouldn't have
Really low 20s. But
she was in NASCAR, which I find is odd.
I just felt like with her, they just like, oh, okay, here's a face where they're throwing in, have fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like, go at it. Like, I understand where you're coming from too, because Haley Deegan was the same thing. She was in the truck
Yep.
series, dominated, great program. And then when we went to Xfinity, they changed her to Toyota. And they didn't really help her out. And that program is not that great. And if I'm not the one just saying that, Kevin Harvick's saying it. And if he's saying it, that means it means something. So right now, I think she's in the NXT, but I feel like NASCAR needs to put women drivers in better positions like that, because I feel like they just want them to fail and be like, oh, well, we tried. But I do agree with you, though. There are a lot of good female drivers. Even in ARCA, there's a few good ones.
Yeah.
So I like that they gave her the chance, but I don't think Phoenix should have been that first chance. I think Martinsville, something like that would have helped her.
Yeah, anything that'd be more familiar with. I mean, Daytona is probably one of the easiest ones, but you don't want to put them out there for the 500, and you don't want to put them out there for the night race. unless they've driven in unless they've done the 24 hours of Daytona and they've been out there at night. Now, obviously, it's not the full track, but I mean, you got two of the major turns on that track in that race because you have the whole front stretch with the tribal, and then you're coming out of turn 4, and then you cut before turn 1. You cut down into the first turn for the road track. So, so hold on, timeout real quick. Was it you who told me this, or somebody else told me this? I heard a rumor, and this is just a rumor. This is like an internet rumor. It's nothing from NASCAR. I don't want anybody to go and get us like sued or slandered or whatever, canceled anyway. But there's some people on the internet who believe that with the economic, political standings between Mexico and the United States right now, that for some reason Mexico may say, you know what, you can't come run your race down here. And then so the rumor has it that the Daytona road course would take its place.
I did hear that rumor, actually. It wasn't me who told you this, but I did hear that rumor.
I am all for this. Just because I've always wanted the Cup Series to go run there.
And it's good for international.
So, right. But I mean if Mexico's going to say we can't run there, yes, move it to Daytona. Go back to Daytona and run the road track for 400 miles. It would be awesome. Because it's like a 3.23 mile track.
Yeah.
So 400 miles, you're talking, that'd be a lot of laps.
Yeah.
So maybe 250, 300 miles.
Yeah, it kind of stinks, though, that it's like NASCAR is trying to become like a top, I'll say like top 6 sport in the U.S. They want to go international. All the other sports are doing it. And the fact that there's this BS going on with it, it's like you can't do it. It's like that's a little ridiculous to me. But I mean, it is what it is. You can't control it.
It's out of their control. So.
Yeah, exactly. Can't control it.
But anyways, we're supposed to be talking about Phoenix. You got me off track with the how I felt about NASCAR and promoting female drivers. Yes, I'm for it. I just think they need to make sure that they're putting the women in a better position where they're more familiar with what's going on, because you're not going to find a Hendrix or a Penske or a JGR or a Trackhouse that's going to go put somebody in one of their, race cars and go put them on track for the first time at 170 miles an hour. It's just not going to happen. So I think you got to put them on track in an environment they're a little more familiar with. So back to Phoenix after lap 5, where Katherine Legge had her first accident. She brought out caution. Logano and Byron get the green flag. Stenhouse Jr. and Custer spin right after the start. I mean, is this what you were expecting for Phoenix right off the bat? Because I wasn't.
Not really. I mean, I was pretty surprised too. They're going 3 wide, maybe a little bit 4 wide in this race too. So
well, definitely some 5-6 wide in that dogleg cut.
Yeah, if you do the dogleg cut, yeah. But yeah, that was a little bit interesting that happened right off the rip. And then
I was a little surprised by it, to be honest.
Yeah. Michael McDowell, though, that one was interesting too. For his caution, like all of a sudden he just hits up onto the track and has to go to pit road. I think that's when his tire blew. I was like, oh, that's a little uncharacteristic of Michael McDowell.
Well, we saw right front issues all day. That was a theme of the race today. We did have Logano ended up getting a very controversial pass-through penalty in the middle of the first stage as well. What did you think of this? To me, I understand that they had to call it, but that needs to be defined better. I mean, it's either got to be like both left side tires need to be below that line, or I mean, yes, I'm a Penske guy, but I removed my Penske hat in my fandom, and I'm like, golly, that's ticky-tacky. It seemed ticky-tack to me, but I mean, if you're gonna call it, I mean, I expected to see somebody else get hit with it later in the race, and I didn't see anybody else get popped. So,
well, I'll throw my 2 cents in. I've never been a Penske guy. I started off with Roush Racing, and now I'm in Hendrick, and I also agree it's very tic-tacky. I wasn't understanding what was going on with the improper restart, but even Kevin Harvick and Clint Boyer were a little surprised. They're like, that's a very tough call to call And you were right. It was only Joey Logano that this happened to, which made him go down the pack about to 27th position. I thought he was going to take a lap down, but he just got enough speed to get up right in front of the leaders. So
Right.
kudos to Joey Logano because he was running really great in the beginning before this happened.
Yeah, I mean, he was fine, and then that happened. So Logano's that's kind of been his season so far. You know, he's been up there at some point, and every time he's up front or he's having a good run, something goes wrong. You know, he gets involved in an accident, or there's a tire, a brake, mechanical, whatever. Something seems to happen. So we'll see if that theme continues throughout the season for him. Ryan Preece makes the big bold move in the first stage and switches to the Red Wall softer compound tire, and he seems like a rocket had been strapped to the back of his car as he sliced and diced through the field. Did you think the softer compound was going to make that big of a difference for a driver of his caliber? Did he prove that he's a little bit of a better driver than we've known him to be? How do you read all this? Was it the tire? Was the driver? Was it a combination of both? Did you like the fact that we had the tire option for this race? I'm going to hit you with 1,000 things on this topic.
No, you're good. I think it was the tires. I don't think it was the driver. Because in the first stage, or kind of like near the end of the first stage, into the second, there's only 3 to 4 drivers who had the option tires. So it was really none of the top guys who had it. So this is how I kind of knew that it was the tire because obviously Ryan Preece had it, John Hunter Nemechek, Ross Chastain, and there was who was the other driver? I think it was Gilliland had the option. I could be wrong, but those guys had it in the beginning, and I'm like, all right, that's a little weird. Like, why are only these guys having it? Where you have Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, they all have regular tires still. So I was like, all right, that's interesting because you had 6 sets of tires. I think the regular, and then I think 2 sets or
2 sets,
2 sets for the option, right? So I was like, all right, that's a little odd. But then later on, Ryan Preece did it again with the option and it was like top 3. So I was like, yeah, this is definitely the tires. Like, there's no way Ryan Preece is this good of a driver. Obviously, he won a stage last week, but nah, this is the tire.
Okay, cool. That's what I thought too. I was going to make sure I wasn't the only one thinking that. I mean, Preece isn't a bad driver. Like, he was always competitive with SHR. I mean,
he's just not top 3.
And he's with RFK, but yeah, he's not. He's top 12, top 10, top 12 guy consistently is what I see him as. Like if I was on Underdog and picking, or he was one of my champions for higher and lower, and it was a 13.5, I would say he goes higher. That would just be my way I would play him in that situation.
Yeah.
But we end up getting through the end of stage 1, and William Byron ends up taking the stage. Surprise, surprise, Hendrix up front, just like we kind of felt like things were going to be. So it's William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Preece gets 3rd, Christopher Bell 4th, Ryan Blaney 5th, Josh Berry 6th, Carson Hocevar still hanging up in there quietly today instead of making a bunch of noise, 7th. Denny Hamlin 8th, Chase Elliott, your boy 9th, and Kyle Larson 10th. I would say, by the way we were looking at teams, you and I were both at the end of stage 1 and had to be going, yep, we're pretty dead on here.
It was just which driver was gonna be on top. That was the thing for us because I was looking all day. I was like, yes, I don't have the kiss of death today.
Yeah. Well, you thought that. I mean, you kind of had to feel like that, when Logano took the penalty.
Not really. I was just more nervous because I was like, oh, what if he goes a lap down and can't recover? But then I remembered Daytona, I believe he had a penalty on that. He was minus a lap, and then he came all the way to the top 5, which, if you remember, happened, I believe, after one of the restarts. He was in the 19th position and got into the top 5 real quick on those 3-4 wides. So that's why I was like, yes, got it. I was like, he knows what he's doing. Unfortunately, he's a 3-time champ, but he knows what he's doing.
Well, it is what it is. It's hard to beat on greatness. They just always find a way to be there. When lights shine the brightest, they step up.
Yeah.
Swing to the fences. Sorry, we're getting into baseball season. If you haven't checked it out, 7-day stretch, Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. You never know. Aaron might be there talking about the New York Mets. But you'll see me there every week with our great guy, Darren from Fat Boy Fadeaway. Anyways, why don't we get into stage 2? So stage 2, what were you expecting? I mean, were you expecting this to be an exciting stage, boring stage? What were we looking for?
Knowing Phoenix in the second stage, I expected people that were at the bottom to start moving to the top. So, a.k.a. Kyle Larson's, a.k.a. Chase Elliott's, a.k.a. anyone from Penske. Because, like I said, this is a Penske Hendrick track, and you saw it last year.
The cream to rise at this point.
Pretty much. I feel like everybody was just kind of feeling everything out, seeing what's going on. Even though he's with 2311, Tyler Reddick is pretty decent at this track too. So I was expecting the top guns to start moving up and creeping up forward. And it was kind of slow, I think. The only thing that happened, I think, Joey Logano started moving up to the top, and he was fighting off Christopher Bell. And I think Tyler Reddick at one point had a few laps that he led. So I was just like, all right, it's getting there, but not yet.
Yeah, it wasn't the most exciting stage ever for Phoenix, but I mean, it wasn't bad. We get the start of stage 2. Byron clears before we even get to stage 1. Christopher Bell ends up jumping into second. Cindric ends up taking the softer tire during his pit change, and he starts moving through the field. He gets by Byron with no issue. He ends up taking the lead, and he sits up front for a little while. And then Michael McDowell has his blown tire. This is the accident you were referring to earlier in the show. That brings out a caution, and all the leaders at this point say it's time to pit. Everybody goes, all the leaders go down. Bell, once again with that pit crew who was amazing last year, continues to be a weapon, a very secret, not secret, they're not even secret, they're just a quiet weapon. They work in the background, they don't make mistakes, they put them in good positions, and it is paying off big time this year. And his driving ability and his intuition is paying off this year. They have really put things together over there with that team at JGR. DeWalt Interstate Batteries have to be thrilled that their driver is just burning rubber this year on all of NASCAR. But like I said, Christopher Bell, excuse me, and Byron go into turn 1. They run out of room. They're 4 wide at this point. It's Gibbs and Haley and Brad Keselowski. Hocefar's in this one. Briscoe, Graskin, SVG. I mean, there's a bunch of folks that get collected in this one. So it's the big one. I think it was 10 cars total were piled up in this one. Aaron, to me, that in my opinion, they just ran out of room.
Yeah,
coming through. They were just coming to the funnel, and they just ran out of room at that part of the track, and it was just bumping and grinding. I mean, there was some good impact there because Briscoe's car came off the ground when he took the hit from Haley, I think.
Yeah. So because I believe it was Hosfar in the middle, or just the Haley was in the middle. It was one of those 7s. And then I was like, oh crap! There's
7
no
hit 19 and popped 19 up. I know that.
Yeah, because 19 was on the out. He was on the higher part of the track.
So Hosfar might have been inside the 7. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Cole Custer got tagged a little bit too. I think the only people that really got destroyed, I believe, was Raleigh Herbst. Because everyone, and I mean, Brad Keselowski wasn't too bad, but again, another bad race for Brad Keselowski. I don't know what's going on over there, but everyone else seemed pretty much fine. I think it was just Raleigh Herbst that got really messed up in that.
Is it time for BK just to hang it up? Is this at the end of the year? Does he just have to call it, and he just needs to go to be the owner and run his team? That's sure. If things continue the way they're going for Brad Keselowski, I'm sure that's a conversation we'll be having come the Coca-Cola 600.
It's the curse of Jack Roush Racing.
It surely is a curse, or it seems to be one. So Bell ends up taking the field back as the caution comes out. Bell clears Byron on the restart before turn one. Bell just at this point looks to be in charge, has a great car. He's running really well. He picked up where he left off. I mean, the dude is just getting to the right place at the right time and being competitive when it counts. His pit crew is not making mistakes. His crew chief is making all the right calls, and he seems to be in the right place at the right time. And the bad luck just hasn't touched him yet. Christopher Bell is doing something what we'd rather ever see. And
Oh yeah,
it's like he's untouchable. At one point, Logano goes through his pit stop. He takes the softer tire, and he's obviously doing this for strategy. It's about lap 130, I think, is when he ends up catching up to Bell, and he takes the lead away from Bell, and this is right after he restarted just inside the top 20. So he got those soft tires on, and he basically moved to the front without issue. Bell is on the standard compound with about 10 laps left in the stage. The soft tire compound just starts wearing, and it becomes very obvious. And very quickly, Bell cuts that 1.5, 2 second lead that Logano had. I think in 4 laps, he dropped it from 1.35 seconds down to 0.51 seconds.
yes.
So, I mean, it was just once that soft compound went away, it was gone. Bell ended up catching Logano with like 8 laps left. Bell ends up winning stage 2. Logano ends up getting second, gets stage points. I think at this point, Logano was like, hey, I just need to get stage 2 points, be up top, and then put myself in position to compete in stage 3. I think it worked out from the early penalty. Again, Logano and Wolf, just like Christopher Bell, seem to be making all the right moves and all the right calls. They are just on the other side of the coin where they're getting all the bad luck. That's what it looks like to me.
Now, how confident were you after stage 2 that you had both of your drivers in like a top 10 atmosphere?
Oh, I felt super good, man. I was like, all right, we're gonna rock and roll. I was like, I'm gonna be able to gloat a little bit tonight on the show.
Don't need that.
Let's get through the results of stage 2 here real quick. So, like I said, Christopher Bell first, Joey Logano second, William Byron up there again in third, Ryan Blaney, my guy who I picked to win, in fourth, Tyler Reddick, like you said earlier, always good at this track, gets fifth, Denny Hamlin sixth, Austin Cindric seventh. So Penske was all the way up there. Daniel Suarez was eighth, having a great run today. Kyle Larson again quietly in ninth, and then my other pick of the day, Josh Berry, was in 10th. So yeah, all 4 of my personal drivers are in there. I've been on Christopher Bell last 2 seasons, so that's my 5 drivers. Yeah, I was feeling pretty good, and I've never had a problem with Reddick. So, yeah, I was feeling really good after stage 2. I was pretty happy.
Yeah, I was waiting for Alex Bowman to kind of do something in stage 2. He was just hovering around like the mid-teens. So when he was behind Chase Elliott, I was like, all right, well, let's kick it up a notch. You're my underdog for a reason.
I feel like at Phoenix, if you're hovering in the teens, you're not hovering because you want to. You're not playing strategy and fuel there. You're hovering because you can't get anywhere past that. You're just kind of stuck. Like you're too fast to be in the 20s, but you just don't have enough goose or enough aerodynamics or whatever it may be.
That's how I felt with Chase Elliott in the second stage, to be honest.
He just lost it. He just kind of plateaued.
Yeah.
So, well, let's get into it because this is what we all want to talk about. So stage 3, Bell takes everybody down pit lane. Logano's team actually ends up getting him off pit lane first, and he wins. Now he goes with another set of option tires here. This is where the strategy really starts coming in. Logano's burning his last set of option tires. He knows there's going to be a pit stop, and he's going to have to use those standard tires in the third stage to end it. I think he was hoping that there was going to be a caution between 40 and 50 laps into the stage, and then he'd be able to switch over to those primary compound tires. I think that was the strategy they were going through. I mean, is that what you got out of it? Or, I mean, how did you think they were playing this considering they decided not to save the soft tires for the last 40 when you know there's going to be a caution inside the last 40?
Yeah, I think Larry McReynolds said it pretty perfect. That's usually what happens in the third stage. It's like lap 271. So I was a little surprised that was going down, but I was like, you know what? I don't get paid enough money for that, so maybe they know something that I don't. So
Right.
it was definitely a bold strategy there, Cotton.
I mean,
ESPN
this
Hotel.
is the first time I questioned Wolf and Logano. I was like, I don't I don't think that's the right move. But whatever, you guys are doing something different, so I'm not gonna be mad that you guys are trying something different because
Yeah.
you're gonna use what happens here later in the season, and you're already having some bad luck, so you might as well take the risk now. You got some stage points today, in both stage one and stage two. So, or in stage two, you didn't get in stage one, but take a risk, go for it. So yeah, I mean that was but they knew what they were up against because they knew how many laps they just got out of in the previous stage before they got burnt. So I feel like they had to know what they were doing, and they were going on
Yeah.
odds. I don't know. It seemed odd to me. Anyways, green flag drops for stage three. Logano takes the field. It clears everybody into turn one. With 98 laps to go, Katherine Legge, whatever. Catherine, we apologize. I don't know how to pronounce your name. She spins again. She's off turn two. She ends up, as you mentioned earlier, taking Daniel Suarez. He can't see her through the smoke. He ends up broadsiding her. Caution comes out there. This is where this is the interview I got to watch where she said, it was baptism by fire. She was very loose to start the race. They were adjusting all day. They made a bunch of changes from the day before because she wasn't happy with the car and it made the car worse. So I think it was just, first time there. She had 3 days in the car, basically. Probably just getting familiar with how a stock car runs versus an open wheel car. I look forward to her next visit to a track.
Yeah.
I would expect to see her make some progress there and at least finish. She did say before the race her goal was just to finish the race, as she had not had very much experience in a stock car at all. So,
she definitely finished better than some professional drivers and a NASCAR champion in Brad Keselowski. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, so I mean, I say give her another chance later this summer. Let her get some work in and practicing first at the track she goes to.
Yeah.
So at this point, obviously, we get the caution. Logano takes the field down pit lane, and surprise, surprise, number 20, Christopher Bell's crew gets him off first, and he regains first man out and the lead. Bell and Reddick restart here, and Bell clears Reddick well before turn one. With 77 laps to go at this point, Ryan Preece is one of the few left on the soft tires for the run.
He is moving.
He's doing the same thing he did in stage one. He gets around Bell, no problem, takes the lead, gone. With 48 laps to go, we start seeing pit stops. This is where it's, smoke them if you got them, or are you going standard because you're guessing that there's going to be overtime and you're not going to have the tires if you go with the soft at the end. This is where all the strategy, and everybody kind of does their own thing, and we mostly see primary tires at this point. So we rock and roll. Shortly after that, we see a big accident for one of the most talked about drivers in NASCAR, Bubba Wallace. His brakes go out and he slams hard into the wall. That was pretty nasty hit, pretty violent.
Yeah, I think he was running 7th or 8th at that point.
Yeah, I think, he was in the top 10. I don't know, 6th, 7th, 8th, I can't remember, but yeah, he was up there. He ends up into the wall. This brings out a caution. Preece then leads the field to pit lane. Surprise, surprise. Bell's team gets him out first again, setting everything up. But we get a penalty. It's Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick's been there all day. He's been in the hunt. He's good at this track. He gets a penalty and has to drop to the rear for speeding on pit lane. So what this does now is it's Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin up front as they go into turn one. I'm pretty sure Bell clears here too. And shortly later, a few laps later, Ryan Blaney radios into his team that he thinks the engine is going, that something is wrong, that he's not no power on the straightaways. Shortly after that, with 23 laps to go, Ryan Blaney's engine blows. This is the first Penske engine fail I've seen in I don't know how long. I've not seen I cannot remember the last time a Penske motor failed. And saying that as well, I don't feel like we see motors fail very often anymore, like we did in the late '90s, early 2000s. I
Yeah,
just
I
feel like
agree.
as often anymore. Like I felt like you used to always see somebody's engine blow it almost every race. I feel
Greg
like
Biffles did that for a while in like 2007. He would be like leading or top 10, all of a sudden his engine would just blow or his
because
piston would blow, and I'm like,
Roush
oh,
Motors had an
okay.
issue, wasn't it?
Yep, it was definitely Roush.
Yeah, so I remember that. So it's just Penske's first one in a long time, but Ryan knew it right before it happened. That ended his day. Caution comes out for this one, obviously for debris. They got to check for oil and anything else that may be on the track. The leaders stay out. Logano actually ends up going to the pit here. So this is where they played those soft tires and it burned him. He had to go to standard tires now, but his standard tires are fresh. I mean, if he would have gone to standard tires before, he would have never fell back in position. Here's what I'm really getting at. So he ends up back in 15th. Green flag drops. It's Bell and Hamlin out front. They're side by side in turn 1. Bell wins the race off of turn 2. And it looks like this is going to be the race to the end.
And in comes Kyle Larson.
Yeah, I mean he's coming. But before Kyle Larson, we get another accident, right? Ty Gibbs ends up having he gets a flat tire and ends up hitting the wall. So we get a caution there, and then we're down to a shootout. 2 laps to go. Bell and Hamlin again side by side. They're banging doors down too. Hamlin gets a little bit loose, but really doesn't lose any ground. They stay side by side. 1 to go. They're running into the start finish line. Bell gets real close to Hamlin. Hamlin's on the outside. They door draft. Bell breaks away and gets ahead of Hamlin. They go into turn 1. I think they bump a little bit there too. Just touch doors. Is it 1
just
or
a
3?
little, yeah.
They touch doors. Yeah. At this point, Bell almost has him all the way cleared, and somehow Hamlin finds enough power on the top side of the track to just get back to the rear bumper. Larson is coming through. He's pushing Hamlin. They get a little bit of a split. They go into turn 3 and 4. Bell's on the inside. He slides up a little bit. Hamlin, at this point, to me, just gets a little bit loose and just barely glazes the wall. Larson's charging from the inside, but Bell holds him off. Second closest finish in Phoenix history. Bell over Hamlin with Larson right behind. JGR gets a 1-2 finish. Christopher Bell, 3 in a row, cementing himself in the history with some of the greatest names in NASCAR. Yeah, I didn't see it coming. I didn't think it was going to come. We talked about this up front in the show. We both thought it was going to be a Hendrix or Penske day. Christopher Bell does something that nobody was really betting on. I'm sure somebody out there betting and won that he would win 3 in a row. I'm not saying it didn't happen.
There was one guy, but I don't know. I don't think he can legally put money on it. And that was Kevin Harvick. He did say it on his show. He thought Christopher Bell was going to win Phoenix.
Oh wow. See, that'd be suspicious now, man. Now you just brought light and highlighted for the millions of viewers we have. What episode was that on? Was that on Thursday?
It was literally his no, it was his well, they record Monday, but it comes out Tuesday.
Okay, Tuesday show.
So yeah.
So now you're all of our millions of viewers. I'm sure there's a couple conspiracy people that are gonna be like,
hey, put it down. Hey, put it down in the comments. That means you're watching the show. Like the show and put some comments in. I'm cool.
Harvick, obviously, we're just kidding, buddy. We don't think you have anything to do with Christopher Bell's 3-peat here. Totally a joke. We're making fun of people that are conspiracy theorists.
But also, people need to realize, because I've seen it like, oh, I thought Kyle Larson did it in 2021. Yes, he did it in 2021, but this different. The difference is he did it in the middle of the season. What Christopher Bell did was had a terrible Daytona, which is what Kevin Harvick did and Bill Elliott, and won the next 3 races. That's completely different from what Kyle Larson did.
Yeah. So it's something you don't see very often, and definitely not in this. It's this situation that makes it special. Let's give a quick rundown of the finish. Like you said, Christopher Bell wins his third in a row. Denny Hamlin second. Kyle Larson third. Josh Berry, my underdog, who I picked my underdog to win, finishes fourth. Chris Buescher has a nice finish in fifth. William Byron sixth. He was up there all day long. Great race for him. Alex Bowman with a very quiet seventh place finish. Kyle Busch with a quiet eighth. Zane Smith sneaks up into the top 10 and gets ninth. Chase Elliott with 10th. Watermelon Man, Ross Chastain 11th. Austin Dillon with a nice finish 12th. Joey Logano ends up finishing 13th today after all of his troubles. John Hunter Nemechek with one of his best finishes of the season 14th. Ryan Preece after his strategy-filled day where he really looked like a strong driver on those soft tires finishes 15th. Ty Dillon 16th. Todd Gilliland 17th. Eric Jones 18th. Let's see here. Austin Cindric, who had a good car for the first two stages of the day, ends up finishing 19th. Tyler Reddick 20th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 21st. AJ Allmendinger 22nd. Daniel Suarez, after that collision with Katherine Legge, ends up finishing 23rd. Cody Ware 24th. Ty Gibbs 25th. Noah Gragson 26th. Michael McDowell after his accident 27th. Ryan Blaney after the blown engine 28th. Bubba Wallace 29th after his brake failure. Katherine Legge after her spin outs 30th. SVG from his collection in the earlier big one finishes 31st. Cole Custer included in that 32nd. Keselowski 33rd. Justin Haley 34th. Chase Briscoe 35th. Carson Hocevar 36th. And Riley Herbst 37th. Did you think it was weird we only had 37 cars in the field today?
I don't think so because
not all 37 I remember 39 finished. One race last year, but I don't remember 37.
That's all right. Probably has been two nobodies that nothing would have happened.
Well, yeah, but still, it's just it was a little bit of a lighter field. So, good race this week. I mean, next week, what are we looking at next week, man? What are you looking forward to in next week's race?
What is next week actually?
Vegas.
That's right. It's Vegas.
I'm in that 6-race stretch that I love. And I'm like, hold on, which one's which? Yeah, it's Pennsylvania. Yeah. It's the Pennzoil 400 presented by Jimmy Lube in Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 267 laps, 400.5 miles. It's going to be on Fox Sports 1 on Sunday, 3:30 Eastern PM, 2:30 Central. It's going to be a big one. I like this track. I really enjoy Phoenix. It's easily one of my favorite tracks on the schedule. I love it. It's there. We go there twice a year. Vegas is another good track too. St. Patty's Day weekend. Whoop, whoop. Looking forward to it. Not like I get to go, so it doesn't really matter, but, I like Vegas. Vegas is a fun track. It's fast. It's good for this car. I guess that's why I like this track. I think Vegas is one of those tracks that this car is ideal for.
Yeah. This is what
I'm interested almost.
in. Yeah.
And Iowa even. I thought this car was great at Iowa. I'm sorry if you didn't like it. I thought it was great. I think this car's great at WWT too.
Yeah, no, he was pretty good in Iowa. I was a little surprised, but not really, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this car is made for those mile and a half, rough those kind of distances, intermediate tracks. So, no, looking forward to next week. We should be here Sunday night, 9 p.m. Central Time. If it changes, we'll try to get it out there early enough for you. We do appreciate you all dropping in. Like, share. Aaron, what do you got? Any last thoughts on this race or going into next week? What are you looking for? What you got? So
with Mr. Josh Berry finishing in the top 5, that has not happened for the Wood Brothers since 2021 with Matt DiBenedetto. So shout out to the Wood Brothers. Joey Logano, I said earlier on the show, is the first NASCAR champion to have finished outside of the top 10 the first 4 races. So that's a little bit of a concern. And going into the Vegas track, look out for those Hendrick boys.
Yeah, Hendrick does do really well in Vegas. You said something real quick. I want to bring this point out. So Logano is still 9th in points.
Yeesh. That's probably because of the stage wins. Stage points.
It's the stage points. So right now in points, let's just do a quick top 10 breakdown. Actually, I'm going to go as far as 16. Do you want the point standings or do you want – I'm not giving you playoffs. We're just going to do points. We're so far away from playoffs. Yeah. William Byron's in first on points right now. Christopher Bell is in second somehow with 3 wins. That doesn't make any absolute sense because he's even got more laps led. Same amount of stage wins.
It's probably going to change.
He's got more top fives, his same number of top tens, but he has a DNF. That's probably where it's at. Tyler Reddick's in third. Ryan Blaney's in fourth. Chase Elliott's fifth. Bowman is sixth. Hamlin's seventh. Kyle Busch is in eighth. Joey Logano ninth. Chris Buescher 10th. Kyle Larson 11th. Bubba Wallace 12th. John Hunter Nemechek's 13th. Ricky Reckhouse Jr. is in 14th. Michael McDowell 15th. And Ross Chastain is 16th in the point standings right now. That is not the playoff standings. That is the standard regular season point standings. So, yeah, even with Logano's troubles right now, he's still in the top 10 of points.
Yeah, I mean, he's led 207 laps. So, I mean, that kind of helps.
Yeah.
And a stage one.
207. He's got the most laps led still.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, because William Byron's only led 100. Christopher Bell's led 114.
And like I said, he was the worst Cup winner. He was averaging 14th for most of the year, which is why I said it was a bad champion. But that's just me.
Hey, don't hate the player, hate the game, man.
Oh, I'm hating
all you
the
gotta do is get there.
It's pretty much.
Hey, I say you get rid of the stages, or it's 25%. No, it's got to be like 20%, 25%, and then 55% of the stage lengths. That's got to be
that might be interesting.
My opinion. You got that third stage needs to be long enough where you need to increase the odds of green flag pit stops. That needs to be increased in NASCAR, in my opinion, make it more interesting again. Or you just get rid of the stages. You do you get a 25% of the race up front is one stage, and then stage 2 is the other 75%. You get a setup stage and then you race.
Well, I have it right here if we're doing Winston Cup standings. Yeah. Christopher Bell will be first with 615 points. Then it'll be William Byron, Reddick, Bowman, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Chris Buescher, John Hunter Nemechek, and Kyle Larson would be your top 10.
Wow. That's how much NASCAR has changed since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Wins mattered more than anything. They don't win.
And Joey Logano would be 17th right now.
Yeah. God, I wish NASCAR should 1 year. So when's the next anniversary? The next big anniversary? 80?
I have no idea. I have to look that
80?
one up.
No. I don't know. Somebody in the comments can let me know. I can't think off the top of my head. I can't remember. Anyways, they should do that one season for the next big anniversary year. Go back to the traditional point system.
Yeah.
With these new cars and everything. I really want to see a monkey wrench thrown into it. But that's me. So for all of you guys out there, again, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. We'll be covering Las Vegas, the Pennzoil 400, sponsored by Jiffy Lube, right here on the Variety Sports Network. Again, this is the Next Left Turn. Thank you so much on behalf of Aaron and Josh. We'll see you guys next week.